trying to understand the minds of regressive leftists and social justice warriors. This is one in a series of videos in which we attempt to fathom the depths, the inscrutable darkness, as it were, the very abyss itself that is the minds of social justice warriors, often abbreviated SJWs, and other regressive leftists. Note, the visual element of this video will not necessarily pertain to what is being said. All or most of what is shown on the screen will just be videos that I've taken of nature or whatever, so you can just listen to it if you want. The term regressive left was coined by the liberal Muslim Maji Nawaz and first appeared in print in his book Radical in 2012. Over the years, in various media appearances, he has defined the term in various ways, but a fair summary will be to say the following. The regressive left is the section of the left that is illiberal, that is, left-wingers who do not adhere to liberal principles, the principles of liberty and equality. These are still recognized as being liberal principles in the UK, but in the USA, these principles are more likely to be characterized as classical liberal and/or libertarian. The regressive left tends to be hypocritical about applying these principles, that is, liberty and equality, and they tend to be collectivists believing in group rights rather than equal rights. In other words, they believe that some people should have more rights than others if they belong to certain groups. They tend to be authoritarian, whether they use the government or just mobs to impose their will upon other people. For example, they want the government to pass hate speech laws or stricter gun control on the one hand, and on the other hand, they tend to use mob violence to, well, violate other people's civil rights. They tend to adhere to political correctness. They tend to be very intolerant of those who do not conform to their own views, even going so far as to consider actual liberals to be right-wingers or using racist slurs against people who are not white who don't adhere to their very narrow view. In short, again, the regressive left is the section of the left that is not for equal individual liberty for every person regardless of skin color, sex, etc. They are the illiberal left. For a very in-depth look at the definition and use of the term regressive left in mass media, see the link below to my video about this. Social justice warriors are regressive leftists who actively try to impose their regressive leftism onto others, sometimes through civil disobedience, sometimes through the government or institutions like universities or companies like Starbucks or producers of video games, films, comic books, etc. But not all activists are social justice warriors. You see, I've done my own activist work, many hours of activist work myself in my earlier 20s, but out of principles that some would now call classical liberal or what others call left-wing libertarian, rather than out of regressive left motives, but I digress. All social justice warriors are regressive leftists because they are activists motivated by regressive leftism, but not all regressive leftists are social justice warriors because not all regressive leftists are activists. My take on the Trump Derangement Syndrome that we see in society today is twofold. There is two levels going on. There's the rational and the sub-rational, or whatever you want to call it, the subconscious or the I even think it goes down to the collective unconscious, but basically two levels. One that is above consciousness and one that is below consciousness. Now, I'm going to simplify it. What I'm saying is going to be generally applicable, but I think there are a lot more factors than I can even throw in here or would even recognize. But I do think that the following are some major factors on the rational level or the conscious level that make up the Trump Derangement Syndrome that we see in society. During the election, the media, I think perhaps even Fox News, perhaps even joined in with the left-wing media in saying there's no way Trump's going to win, there's no way he's going to win. And it's not so much that they really thought that, although the talking heads may have actually believed what they were reading on their cue cards there or their teleprompters, but I think it was a conscious strategy that they designed. The idea was, if we tell people that there's no chance that Trump's going to win, then those who would actually get out of their seats and go vote for Trump would say, nah, I'm not going to bother getting out of my chair and voting for Trump. They say there's no chance, so why should I bother? That, I think, seems pretty clear, and I don't know, I think right now I'm separating people who are intellectually dishonest with themselves, no, that's not true, with people who are intellectually honest with themselves, who recognize what I'm talking about. It was a strategy, okay? I could be wrong about Fox News, but certainly CNN, etc., they certainly were telling people there's no chance that Trump is going to win, right? So then Trump wins.
now all of a sudden they have this severe cognitive dissonance going on. They have a stark difference between what they thought was possible and what just happened. You know, people were in great shock when they found out that Trump won. And they're like, well, wait a minute, how is that even possible? They said that it's not possible. So a lot of people jump towards it's a conspiracy. So the media was drumming this whole thing. There's no chance Trump's going to win. There's not a chance he's going to win. And people start thinking, well, gee, there's no chance that Trump's going to win. Trump wins. So now all of a sudden there's millions of people going, well, how is this possible? This can't be real. I believe that there was no chance he could win. So now they're faced with two different choices. Number one, that they're just lied to by the media like crazy, or two, actually it was true that there was no chance he could win, and the fact that he did win means that there is some sort of conspiracy, you know, Russian collusion, etc., yada yada. Now, you folks may have heard of Occam's razor. It's a guideline in science, and it says basically you shouldn't unnecessarily multiply entities, or in other words, go with the simplest explanation, because the simplest explanation would be the most likely explanation. The most likely explanation here is that the news is just ignorant, or perhaps even more likely, just simply lying. You know, some combination thereof, but I think it was a conscious campaign to convince people there was no chance that Trump was going to win. So the simplest choice there is that the media simply lied to everybody, and that's why everybody freaked the fuck out. Now, of course, that's not the only factor, but I think that is perhaps the single biggest factor in that. Unfortunately, people have gone with the lesser likely explanation, which is that is some conspiracy that Trump was involved in to sway the vote somehow. Meanwhile, let's not forget that the Democrats conspire to try to allow people who are not US citizens vote, okay? Soft bigotry of low expectations. You can't expect these people to be able to have photo IDs, so just let them vote. We all know why they want them to vote, because illegal aliens tend to vote Democrat. That, of course, is a gross oversimplification, but that is the basic picture of what I think is going on the conscious level there. I think what's going on the unconscious level, this is the second of the two aspects to Trump Derangement Syndrome. On the unconscious level, people on both sides, that is both Trump lovers and Trump haters, they're all projecting a certain archetype from within themselves onto Trump. It's like he's the movie screen and they have their movie reel within their own subconscious. And if you go for that stuff, to some extent, the collective unconscious. They are projecting the archetype of the king/father, the patriarch, the male ruler, whether it's the male ruler of the household or the male ruler of the kingdom, or just a particularly masculine female who is ruling over the household. You know, it could be that those shoes could be filled by a number of different people, but it's a certain role. It's the patriarchal role. So if you use tarot cards, that would be the Emperor. In the Star Wars universe, it would be Darth Vader, both the good one and the bad one. See, the thing is, like I said, both Trump lovers and Trump haters are both projecting the same archetype onto Trump. It's just that some people are projecting the evil tyrant father archetype onto Trump, and some people are projecting the God King Emperor onto Trump. And you know, you see these memes, God King Emperor Trump, you know, it's tongue-in-cheek, but they are to some extent aware that they are projecting the sort of good king, you know, the King Arthur, the good king of the good kingdom, onto Trump. Whereas other people are projecting, you know, Hitler onto Trump. It's their inner Hitler that they're projecting onto him. Now, perhaps we all have inner Hitlers. It's just when you project onto someone else and point the finger and say, it's them, not me, well, then, you know, you kind of perpetuate these things for another generation. So, anyway, get over it. But yeah, I think it's those two levels. One is the unconscious level where Trump is the perfect screen for people to project both the good king/father and the evil king/tyrant bad father archetype onto him. So that would be one level. And then the other level, a lot of it of the Trump Derangement Syndrome is just media manipulation. Oh, and I forgot to mention the other thing. Also on the rational level, there's another aspect. Somehow this guy who's been on TV for years, who's famous for rubbing elbows with people in New York, black, white, whatever, who's known as pretty much a neo-progressive liberal, you know, like a business Democrat, you could say. Suddenly he's Hitler and he's Nazi, he's a racist, fascist, this, that, and the other thing, out of the blue, and people never stopped and said, how come the media never said that about him, although he's been a famous figure on TV for years and years? All of a sudden he's racist. You tell a lie enough times, people will believe it. Stupid people, but people will believe it. A good number of people will goddamn believe it. There's a lot of people out there who you can bet somebody $100 to come up with primary evidence, not hearsay, primary evidence, actual recordings of them saying something racist. They can't do it. I've seen it time and time and time again. I don't want to name names right now because then I'll go off into a whole tangent thing, but there's a good number of people. I've even made videos challenging people to come up with the proof that so-and-so is racist. That is primary evidence, not hearsay or a written account, but an actual recording. They can't goddamn do it. But if you repeat a lie often enough, people will goddamn believe it. So that too is part of the conscious level, the first level of this Trump Derangement Syndrome. Then, of course, there is the second and last level, which is that of the unconscious, both the personal and the collective unconscious, where people project onto Trump a certain archetype, be it for good or ill, depending on whether they want to project the darker Osiris, Darth Vader kind of father god onto him, or some sort of shining golden crown king, emperor, Charlemagne, or whatever, the glorious king onto Trump, or somewhere in the middle. But most people take one to the other extreme, let's face it. Well, that's my take on the Trump Derangement Syndrome.
Listen, before it's too late, subscribe to us on BitChute. It's like YouTube, but they don't censor. In fact, you can see some of our best videos on BitChute only because YouTube removes them. Also, YouTube gives us strikes on content they deem to be not okay, even though they're really vague about what's okay and what's not okay. Right now, we have 2 strikes on our channel. It takes 60 days for a strike to go away. A 3rd strike means our channel is deleted, so we're just 1 strike away from our channel being deleted, so subscribe to us on BitChute. See that link below. Also, see the link below to my mines and my camp. If you friend or follow me, I'll do the same to you. Thanks for watching, everyone.